I was lying alone in a hospital bed staring at the ceiling tiles, my ribs screaming with every breath I took. My phone kept buzzing with messages from friends asking if I was okay, but there was nothing from the two people I needed most. 3 hours had passed since the car accident. 3 hours since I had called my parents in tears, my voice shaking as I told them I was in the emergency room. Their response was a text message that felt like a knife to the chest. "We cannot come right now, your brother has his award ceremony." I felt numb, and it was not just from the pain medication. It was the realization that once again I was not the priority. But I had no idea that this was only the beginning of a series of events that would force me to make the hardest decision of my life. Before we continue, I want to know where you are watching this from. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? If so, leave a comment sharing how it made you feel, and please hit that subscribe button because what happens next completely changed the relationship between me and my family forever. Let me take you back so you understand how I got here. My name is Isabella, and I grew up in a small town in Connecticut. My father, David Martin, works as an accountant, and my mother, Patricia Martin, is a retired teacher. I have one sibling, my older brother Ryan, who is 3 years older than me. Ryan has always been the golden child. From the time we were kids, he was the star athlete, the honor roll student, the kid everyone in town knew and loved. I tried hard too. I studied, I got good grades, I participated in activities, but nothing I did ever seemed to shine as bright as whatever Ryan was doing. When I got accepted into college with a partial scholarship, my parents said, "That is nice, honey," and went back to reading the newspaper. But when Ryan got into a prestigious law school, they threw a party and invited the entire neighborhood. There were balloons, a cake with his face on it, and my father gave a speech about how proud he was. I remember standing in the corner of that party holding a plate of food I was not eating, watching everyone celebrate my brother while I felt like a ghost in my own home. When I graduated from college with a degree in accounting, my parents did not come to the ceremony. They said they had to attend a charity golf tournament that Ryan was organizing. I walked across that stage, received my diploma, and looked out into the audience hoping to see them, but their seats were empty. I smiled for the camera, but inside I was breaking. 5 years ago, I moved to Boston to work at a financial firm. Part of me moved for the job opportunity, but a bigger part moved to escape the constant feeling of being compared and found lacking. I built a good life there. I worked hard, got promoted, saved money, and eventually saved up $65,000. I bought a small one-bedroom apartment that was all mine. Every time I visited home, though, I still felt like a guest in my own family. Ryan was always the center of every conversation. His cases, his achievements, his life. Mine was just background noise. Flash forward to 6 months ago. I decided to drive back to Connecticut for my mother's birthday weekend. I was on the highway about an hour from home when a truck ran a red light at an intersection and slammed into the side of my car. The impact sent me spinning. I remember the sound of metal crunching, glass shattering, and then everything went quiet. When I came to, I was being pulled from my car by paramedics. My ribs felt like they were on fire. My head was pounding, and there was blood on my hands. They told me I had 2 broken ribs, a mild concussion, and multiple cuts and bruises. My car was totaled, being towed away as I watched from the stretcher. They took me to the local hospital, which was only a 20-minute drive from my parents' house. As soon as I was stable enough to use my phone in the emergency room, I called my mother. My hands were shaking, my voice was breaking. "Mom, I was in a car accident. I am at the hospital." I heard her gasp. "Oh my God, are you okay?" For a moment I felt relief. She cared. But then she said, "Can you wait? Ryan is receiving his community service award tonight. We are at the venue already." I could not believe what I was hearing. "Mom, I am in the hospital. I was in a car accident." She sighed. "I know, sweetie, but you said you are okay, right? No life-threatening injuries. We will come see you tomorrow morning, I promise." Then my father took the phone. "Isabella, your mother and I cannot leave right now. This award is very important for Ryan's law firm reputation. You understand, right? You are a strong girl." I hung up without saying another word. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling something inside my chest crack open, and it had nothing to do with my broken ribs. I spent that entire night alone in the hospital. Nurses came in and out to check my vitals, adjust my medication, ask if anyone was coming to see me. I just shook my head. My best friend Natalie, who lives in Boston, called and offered to drive 3 hours to be with me, but I told her not to. I said I was fine, even though I was not. I could not sleep that night, partly because of the pain, but mostly because I could not stop thinking. I scrolled through social media and saw my mother had posted a dozen photos from Ryan's awards ceremony. The caption read, "So proud of our son, Community Leader of the Year." There was not a single word about me. Not one mention that her daughter was lying in a hospital bed. Memories flooded back. My 16th birthday, which no one celebrated because Ryan had a playoff game. My high school graduation, where I sat alone because my parents were at Ryan's Math Olympiad competition. Every single milestone in my life had been overshadowed by something Ryan was doing, and I had accepted it. I had told myself it was okay that I was being sensitive, that they loved me in their own way. But lying there that night, I realized I had been lying to myself. The next morning, my parents finally showed up at 11. They brought flowers and a fruit basket. They asked how I was feeling, but within 5 minutes, they were talking about how amazing the ceremony had been the night before, how eloquent Ryan's speech was, how everyone had congratulated them. My mother actually said, "You should have seen him, Isabella, he was so eloquent." I just nodded. I did not have the energy to fight. I was discharged that afternoon, and they drove me to their house to rest for a few days before I could travel back to Boston. Those few days felt like torture. Every conversation circled back to Ryan. I felt more alone surrounded by my family than I did lying in that hospital bed by myself. 6 months passed. I recovered physically, went back to work, and threw myself into my career. I limited contact with my family to holiday phone calls and the occasional text message. My parents did not seem to notice the distance. Ryan texted me sometimes, mostly to talk about his own life, his cases, his accomplishments. I responded politely but briefly. I was building a life in Boston that felt peaceful because I was not constantly reminded of how little I mattered. I got promoted to senior accountant, got a raise, started taking yoga classes, went on weekend trips with Natalie. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Then one Friday evening, my phone rang. It was my mother. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. "Isabella, we need you. Something terrible has happened." For the first time in years, I felt like my parents actually needed me. My mother explained between sobs that Ryan was in serious legal trouble. He had been accused of fraud at his law firm. Specifically, he had falsified documents and manipulated evidence in a real estate lawsuit to help a wealthy client win their case. In exchange, he had accepted bribes. The whole thing had been exposed, and now Ryan was facing criminal charges, including fraud, falsifying documents, and accepting bribes. He could be sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison if convicted. The law firm had fired him, immediately stripped him of all privileges, and publicly distanced themselves from him. His wife Amanda had moved out with their 4-year-old daughter Lily and was talking about divorce. My mother was devastated. "Your father and I cannot believe this is happening. Ryan made a mistake, but he is still our son. He needs the best defense lawyer." I asked, "Have you hired a lawyer yet?" She said they had, but the retainer fee was $100,000. They had already used $50,000 from their retirement savings to pay the initial deposit. "So why are you calling me?" I already knew the answer, but I needed to hear her say it. There was a long pause, and then she said it. "We know you have been saving money. You have a good job, no family to support. We need you to lend us $65,000 to cover the rest." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. "You want me to give you all my savings?" My mother corrected me quickly. "Not give, lend. We will pay you back when everything settles down." My father grabbed the phone. "Isabella, this is your brother. Family helps family." Those words hit me like a slap. Family helps family. Where was family when I was alone in the hospital? My father's voice got hard. That was 6 months ago. You need to let that go. This is about Ryan's future, his career, his family. I could feel anger rising in my chest like lava. Let it go. You chose an award ceremony over your daughter in the emergency room, and now you want me to hand over everything I have worked for. My mother started crying again. How can you be so selfish? Ryan is in serious trouble. He could go to prison. I shot back. He committed fraud, Mom. He broke the law for money. Why should I pay for his mistakes? My father lost his patience. Because he is your brother. Because we are family. You have always been so cold, so distant. Maybe if you spent more time with us, you would understand how much this means. I felt like I had been slapped across the face. Cold, distant. I spent my whole life trying to get you to notice me. But nothing I did was ever good enough because it was not Ryan. My mother tried to deny it. That is not true. We love you both equally. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Equally. When was the last time you came to visit me in Boston? When was the last time you asked about my life, my job, my dreams? When was the last time you posted a photo of me on social media and said you were proud? My father cut me off. This is not the time for this conversation. We need an answer. Will you help your brother or not? I took a deep breath. I need time to think. My mother's voice went shrill. We do not have time. The lawyer needs the money by next week or he will drop the case. I said firmly. Then I guess you better figure something else out because I am not deciding this in 5 minutes. My father's voice turned ice cold. If you do not help him and Ryan goes to prison, that will be on you. You will have destroyed this family. I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I sat on my couch staring out the window of my apartment, thinking about that $65,000. That money represented 5 years of discipline, of skipping vacations, of cooking at home instead of eating out, of choosing the cheaper option every single time. That money was supposed to help me buy a bigger house someday, or take a long trip to Europe, or maybe even start my own business. And now they wanted me to hand it all over to Ryan, the person who had always had everything. I called Natalie and told her everything. She was furious. They have some nerve after everything they have done or not done for you. I felt torn. But he is still my brother. What if he really goes to prison? What about his little girl? Natalie was firm. Isabella, listen to me. Ryan made his own choices. He is a grown man, a lawyer. He knew exactly what he was doing when he committed fraud. This is not your responsibility. But I needed to know more. I reached out to an old college friend named Marcus, who works as an investigative journalist in Connecticut. I asked him to send me everything he could find about Ryan's case. What he sent me made my blood run cold. This was not the first time Ryan had done something unethical. 2 years ago, he had been internally reprimanded for a conflict of interest in another case, but my parents had used their connections to sweep it under the rug. This current fraud case was far worse. Ryan had accepted a total of $250,000 in bribes over 6 months. He had spent that money gambling on sports and buying a luxury car. His wife Amanda had filed for divorce because she could not handle the pressure and the lies anymore. My parents knew all of this, every single detail, but they were still protecting him, still treating him like a victim. Marcus told me, "Your brother is not just unlucky, Isabella. He is a repeat offender who thinks he is above the law." My parents called again a few days later, demanding I come home to discuss this as a family. I drove back to Connecticut that weekend, my heart pounding the entire way. When I walked into my childhood home, Ryan was sitting in the living room. He looked terrible. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, clothes rumpled. He looked up at me. "Thanks for coming, Izzy. I know we have not been close, but I really need you right now." I sat down across from him, keeping my voice level. "I read about the case. All of it." Ryan's face changed. "Whatever you read is exaggerated. The media always twists things. I looked him straight in the eye. So you did not accept $250,000 in bribes? You did not falsify documents? He shifted uncomfortably. It was more complicated than that. The client needed help and the system is rigged anyway. I could not believe what I was hearing. That is your defense. The system is rigged, so you decided to break the law. My father jumped in. Isabella, your brother made a mistake. Everyone deserves a second chance. I turned to face him. A second chance, Dad, this is not his first offense. You covered up for him 2 years ago. How many chances does he get? My mother put her hand on her chest. We did what any parents would do. We protected our son. I stood up. You protected him from consequences, and now those consequences are bigger, and you want me to pay for them. Ryan tried again. I will pay you back every cent, I swear. I shook my head. With what money you gambled away $250,000? You lost your job. Your wife is divorcing you. Where exactly is this money coming from? He had no answer. I took a deep breath and said the words I had been holding inside for 6 months. I am not giving you my savings. My mother screamed. How can you be so heartless? He is your brother. I felt tears threatening, but I held them back. And I am your daughter. But you have never treated me like one. You have spent my entire life making me feel invisible, making me feel like I do not matter. And the one time I needed you when I was hurt and scared in a hospital, you chose him. So no, I am not giving him my money. My father stood up, his face red with anger. If you walk out that door, you are walking out of this family. I picked up my purse, and for the first time in my life, I felt completely calm. I walked out of this family a long time ago, Dad. You just never noticed. I turned and left. I got in my car and drove back to Boston, crying the entire 3-hour drive. But underneath the tears, there was something else. Relief. When I got home, I sat down and wrote a long email to my parents. I told them I loved them, but I could not continue accepting the favoritism and neglect. I would not lend Ryan the money because he needed to take responsibility for his actions. I needed time and distance to heal. If they wanted a relationship with me in the future, they needed to acknowledge how they had treated me. I hit send and blocked their phone numbers temporarily. I needed space. I used part of my savings to put a down payment on a small house in the suburbs of Boston, something I had wanted for a long time. I started going to therapy to work through the childhood wounds I had been carrying. 2 months later, I received an email from my mother. Ryan had taken a plea deal. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison and 3 years probation, avoiding the full 5-year sentence. My parents had to sell their house to pay the lawyer fees and moved into a smaller apartment. My mother did not apologize in the email. She just wrote, I hope you are happy with your decision. I did not respond. A year has passed since I made that decision. I moved into my new house, a 2-bedroom place with a small garden about 30 minutes outside Boston. My career has continued to grow. I was promoted to financial manager. I adopted a dog named Max, joined a local running club, and became friends with my neighbors. Therapy helped me understand that I was not wrong for wanting to be loved and valued. I learned how to set boundaries and say no without feeling guilty. Natalie visits often, and we took a trip to Iceland last summer. I feel lighter, freer than I have ever felt in my life. It is not perfect. There are still days when I feel lonely, days when I miss having a family. But I do not regret my decision. One afternoon in late fall, I received a handwritten letter in the mail. It was from Ryan, postmarked from the prison. He wrote that he had a lot of time to think. He admitted he was wrong, not just about the fraud, but about how he had treated me over the years. He wrote, I always took you for granted. I knew Mom and Dad favored me, and instead of standing up for you, I enjoyed the attention. I am sorry, Isabella. You were right to say no. I needed to face the consequences. Ryan told me he was participating in rehabilitation programs in prison, learning to take responsibility for his actions. Amanda had finalized the divorce, but she was allowing him to video call with Lily once a week. He was not asking for forgiveness, just wanted me to know he was changing. I read the letter twice, then set it down. I did not cry, but I felt a small sense of relief. I wrote back a short note. Thank you for your honesty. I hope you continue to grow. Take care, Ryan. It was not full reconciliation, but it was a start. I am sitting in my garden now, Max lying beside me, watching the yellow leaves fall from the trees. I think about my journey from the girl who always felt like she was not good enough to the woman who knows her own worth. I learned that family is not always a safe place. Sometimes loving yourself means walking away from people who hurt you, even if they are blood. I learned that saying no is not selfish. It is self-preservation. And most importantly, I learned that I do not need anyone's approval to live a meaningful life. My parents have not reached out since my mother's email a year ago. I do not know if they will ever change, but I am not waiting for that anymore. I have built a new family for myself. Natalie, my new friends Max, and most importantly, myself. I smile, breathing in the crisp autumn air. Maybe happiness is not about being loved by the people you expect to love you. Maybe it is about loving yourself enough that you do not need their approval anymore. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is not saving someone else. It is saving yourself. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own well-being? What would you have done in my situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I would love to hear your perspective. If this story reminded you that you deserve to be valued and respected, please hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that it is okay to put themselves first. And subscribe for more real stories about finding strength in the hardest moments. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it gives you the courage to set boundaries and choose yourself always. Wishing you all the strength to walk away from what no longer serves you and the wisdom to build a life that truly makes you happy.